Let's get started with our first big news. Kamaru Usman has just issued a serious warning about a possible run-in with Belal Muhammad at UFC 315. Now, if you haven't been following the tension between these two, let's catch you up, because there's real bad blood here. It's not just fight hype, it's personal. A few months ago, Belal Muhammad appeared on the Pound for Pound podcast, which was supposed to feature both him and Usman, but that episode, it never got released. According to reports, the conversation got so heated, the producers had to scrap the entire thing. That's right, it was pulled before it could even go live. So what exactly went down? Well, neither fighter has spilled all the details, but insiders say there was no holding back. Usman and Belal were reportedly trading verbal shots, and the energy got so tense that the podcast team decided it was better to shut it down altogether. Since then, the tension has only grown, and now, with UFC 315 coming up, these two could be heading for a backstage clash. In a recent interview with ESPN, Usman didn't hold back. He warned the UFC that they better have security nearby, just in case he crosses paths with Belal Muhammad. Here's what he said: "I say that only because obviously I'm very level-headed, especially outside the cage. But for the last year and a half, I haven't been in the thick of it. There's a transition when you're not in it anymore." He explained that fighters often face a kind of identity shift when they're away from the octagon. People expect them to stay in fight mode all the time, aggressive, intense, ready to go. But for Usman, stepping away from competition gave him a new perspective. He continued, "People expect us to always be in fight mode, and when they see me calm, they're like, 'Why are you so chill? You're a scary fighter.' But I'm not like that outside the cage." Usman even referenced a conversation he had with Georges St-Pierre, another UFC legend. According to Usman, GSP told him that when you're active in the sport, you're always on guard, defensive, paranoid, always preparing for war. But once you take a step back, that mindset starts to fade. However, now that Usman is gearing up for a return and is getting back into the fighter mindset, he admits the old fire is back. He finished with a chilling note: "But now that I'm back in the mix, yeah, you'll probably need security back there." This is more than just talk, with both fighters expected to be in the same building at UFC 315. The UFC might have to prepare for a real confrontation before either man even steps inside the octagon. Stay tuned. This rivalry is just getting started. Moving on to the second story, Cory Sandhagen has a sharp and unexpected response for those who believe he doesn't deserve a title shot. Instead of issuing a traditional call-out, the bantamweight contender took a more creative route, releasing a humorous and sarcastic skit on Instagram that directly mocks his critics. The post, which quickly gained attention online, was captioned, "This is some of y'all right now, and it doesn't even bother you." In the short video, Sandhagen plays both himself and a mock version of an MMA fan, the kind who praises fighters 1 minute and then completely discredits them the next. The skit starts with the fan saying, "You did a good job this weekend, but you still don't deserve a title shot. You lost to Umar, he whooped you, and remember Petr Yan, he beat you back in 2001. The date, obviously exaggerated for comedic effect, highlights how some critics tend to hold on to losses from the distant past, even if the fighter has evolved since then. The fake fan continues, "He deserves it way more than you. You shouldn't be able to fight for a title when you just lost to someone who also lost a title fight." Sandhagen's response in the skit is direct and assertive. "Dude, I was winning that fight until I got knocked down. That's not a good argument." But the mock fan isn't done, doubling down by mocking Sandhagen's performance. "You looked like a stupid idiot when you got hit by that spinning shot." The back and forth goes on until Sandhagen, clearly fed up, ends it with a sarcastic demand: "Say I deserve the title shot." "No, dude, go feat yourself." "Alright then, I'll beat your ass." While humorous, the skit sends a clear message. Sandhagen isn't backing down from the title shot conversation, and he's willing to confront the hate with both wit and confidence. This kind of creative self-expression isn't new for Sandhagen, who has long been known as one of the most thoughtful and cerebral fighters in the division. Whether it's through his calculated fight style or now through social media satire, he continues to stand out from the crowd. More importantly, the skit touches on a larger issue in the MMA community: how quickly fans and pundits dismiss fighters based on selective memory. Losses are a part of the game, even champions have stumbled. But for Sandhagen, who's been consistently fighting top-tier opponents and continues to improve, the narrative that he's undeserving seems more like a lazy talking point than an accurate assessment. With this video, Cory is doing more than defending himself. He's calling out the inconsistency in fan logic and turning it into entertainment. And whether you agree with him or not, one thing is clear: Cory Sandhagen isn't going anywhere. Next up, an unexpected wholesome moment unfolded at UFC 315 when Ian Garry and Belal Muhammad crossed paths during an interview. In a division filled with intense rivalries and heated callouts, this brief but sincere interaction was a refreshing change of pace, reminding fans that respect still exists at the top of the game. As Ian Garry was mid-conversation during a media interview backstage, he happened to bump into Belal Muhammad. While the encounter could have turned into a tense or awkward exchange, especially considering the ongoing competitive tension in the welterweight division, what happened next caught everyone off guard in the best possible way. Before either fighter could dive into a serious exchange, the moment was interrupted, not by a security guard, not by a reporter, but by Ian Garry's own son. The young boy, full of curiosity and innocence, walked up to Belal and asked a simple, honest question: can you win on the feet? The question could have easily been ignored or brushed off, but Belal Muhammad didn't hesitate. With a warm smile, he responded kindly: "We can. Everyone say thank you so much." His answer wasn't just polite, it was genuine, and you could tell he appreciated the child's presence and sincerity. The surrounding tension immediately melted, and the moment became less about rivalry and more about mutual humanity. Two professionals with families, legacies, and fans sharing a moment of peace and good humor. In a sport where trash talk often dominates headlines and bad blood sells fights, this lighthearted exchange stood out. It reminded everyone that behind the gloves and bravado, these fighters are people. Fathers, sons, role models. And in that brief pause from the usual back and forth, we got a glimpse into the kind of character both Garry and Muhammad carry with them outside the cage. There's also something poetic about a child, someone completely untouched by the business side of MMA, cutting straight through the noise with a question about skill, not status. He didn't ask about rankings, callouts, or contracts. He wanted to know if Belal could win on the feet. A simple but honest query that brought a smile not only to Belal's face, but to everyone watching the clip later online. This moment may not make headlines the way fight announcements or callouts do, but it earned the respect of fans who appreciate authenticity in the sport. It was a genuine reminder of what makes MMA unique: the contrast between brutal competition and real-life connection. Though both fighters may find themselves in a more serious battle someday, perhaps even against one another in the octagon over a few seconds at UFC 315, there was no animosity, no ego, no hype, just a respectful exchange and a heartfelt interaction sparked by the innocent curiosity of a child. A short but meaningful moment, and one fans won't forget. Let's move to our next headline. Belal Muhammad is sending a clear and confident message to Islam Makhachev ahead of UFC 315, and the stakes couldn't be higher. As the UFC returns to Montreal for one of the most anticipated cards of the year, speculation is ramping up about the future of both the lightweight and welterweight divisions. All eyes are on Belal Muhammad, because what happens in his fight could directly influence the next move of lightweight champion Islam Makhachev. The scenario is simple, but explosive. If Belal emerges victorious this weekend, many believe Makhachev will stay at 155 pounds to defend his title against rising featherweight champion Ilia Topuria. But if Belal falls short, there's a growing belief that Makhachev will move up and challenge for the vacant or newly claimed welterweight crown. Either way, the outcome of Belal's fight has massive ripple effects across two divisions. During a fiery appearance on the Anik and Florian podcast, Belal Muhammad made it crystal clear: he's not here to play games or act uncertain about his destiny. With trademark intensity, he said, "They're all waiting to see what happens this weekend, but I would get your fight signed because I'm not leaving Montreal without that belt. I'm still going to be the champ, so start your camp right now. Whoever you've got lined up, get ready." It wasn't just a shot at Makhachev, it was a declaration to the entire MMA world. Belal is tired of being overlooked, tired of being seen as the safe pick, and tired of fighters waiting on his results to plan their careers. He's making it known that he's the one setting the tone now, and Belal didn't stop there. In the first episode of UFC Embedded leading into the event, he turned his attention directly to his opponent, the dangerous and highly respected Jack Della Maddalena. Belal made it clear that he's not fazed by Jack's striking credentials or win streak, and even threw in some flair. Another guy with a double-digit win streak. Another guy they think can outbox me. I'm going to go in there, show the Canelo hands, and finish him in 3. But Jack Della Maddalena isn't the type to back down from bold statements. News. Calm but confident, he responded with just as much heat. "I think he's in for a rude awakening. I'll break him with strikes, physically break him. He's had a good run, but it's retirement time, buddy." With the tension boiling, the storylines heading into UFC 315 are electric. Championship futures, divisional shifts, and even retirement talk. It's all on the line. Montreal isn't just hosting a fight card, it's the battleground for a potential power shift in two UFC divisions. And when the cage door closes, only one man will leave with the leverage to shape what comes next. Next story, Cory Sandhagen is once again making headlines, and this time he's setting his sights on a familiar face, Petr Yan. Fresh off his dominant performance against Deiveson Figueiredo this past Saturday, Sandhagen joined the MMA Hour to reflect on his win and discuss what's next. While his eyes are firmly set on the bantamweight title, he made it clear that if a title shot doesn't come next, he's more than open to running it back with Petr Yan. Speaking candidly with Ariel Helwani, Sandhagen said, "If I don't get the title shot, I'm not opposed to fighting Yan, especially since he keeps pushing this narrative. Remember what happened last time? Let's not act like it was a one-sided fight. I was winning until I got dropped at the end of the third." It's true, their first meeting in October 2021 was a high-level competitive battle between two elite strikers. While Yan ultimately walked away with the decision victory and the interim title, Sandhagen showed tremendous skill and grit throughout the fight. According to him, the narrative that Yan dominated doesn't tell the full story, and he's ready to change that perception if given the chance. "If it means fighting Yan again, then for sure," Sandhagen continued, "but honestly, I've earned the title shot." Sandhagen's frustration is understandable. Over the past few years, he's quietly built one of the most impressive resumes in the division. He's taken on all comers, from former champions to rising contenders, and done so without cherry-picking fights or making excuses. With his latest win, many believe he's done enough to earn a crack at gold. But despite that, there's growing talk of Sandhagen being used as the backup fighter for the upcoming Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili title bout in June, a scenario he isn't thrilled about. "Being the backup fighter for Sean versus Merab isn't a good deal," he explained. "You have to prepare for two completely different opponents, and there's a good chance you don't even get to fight. That's a tough ask when I feel like I've already earned my shot." Still, Sandhagen isn't sitting still. He says he'll stay sharp in case something happens. Injuries, weight issues, or pullouts, but made it clear that being passed over again would be difficult to swallow. At this point, whether it's a rematch with Petr Yan or a long-awaited title opportunity, one thing is certain: Cory Sandhagen is ready. He's not backing down, he's not staying silent, and he's certainly not afraid to face anyone in the division again. And if the UFC gives him that second chance at Yan, you can bet it won't be the same fight as last time, because Sandhagen's coming with receipts and a point to prove. And finally, concerns are beginning to rise for former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman ahead of his highly anticipated return against Joaquin Buckley this June. While Usman remains one of the most decorated fighters in UFC history, with multiple title defenses and a dominant run atop the welterweight division, questions about his physical condition are beginning to take center stage, especially after his tough loss to Khamzat Chimaev back in October 2023. During a recent interview with MMA Junkie, respected coach and analyst Dean Thomas didn't hold back when asked about Usman's chances in this upcoming fight. His words painted a sobering picture. "This MMA game is brutal. People say I'm being a hater. I'm not. I've just been in this game long enough to know what it does to fighters. As much as I'd love to see Kamaru do something great again, I just don't know if he has the knees to do it anymore." That last point isn't new. Usman's long-standing knee issues have been public knowledge for years. He's even talked about how he's avoided road work, stairs, and excessive impact training to protect his joints. But now, with the added wear and tear of back-to-back losses and a brutal fight schedule, the concern feels more real than ever. Initially, Dean Thomas was optimistic about the Usman versus Buckley matchup, calling it interesting on paper, but after watching Buckley's recent performances, he's changed his tune. "When I first saw the matchup, I liked it, but then I started thinking, did I not see Joaquin Buckley do what he did to an aging Colby Covington? He's fast, he's aggressive, he moves well. I'm hoping for a good fight, but honestly, I don't see it going Usman's way." And it's not just speculation. Buckley has been on an absolute tear. Since Usman's last outing in late 2023, Buckley has gone 4-0, racking up wins against some of the biggest names in the division. He finished Vicente Luque, outclassed Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and most recently, shocked fans by putting away Colby Covington in dominant fashion. That kind of momentum can't be ignored. Buckley has transformed from a highlight reel knockout artist to a well-rounded, dangerous contender. His striking is sharp, his speed is undeniable, and his confidence is sky high. If Buckley manages to defeat Usman, especially in convincing fashion, it could catapult him directly into the top 5 and potentially just one win away from a title shot. As for Usman, this fight feels like a crossroads moment. Another loss, especially to a surging contender like Buckley, would raise serious questions about whether the former champion can still compete at the highest level. June is shaping up to be a defining month for both men. One is looking to reclaim former glory, the other is aiming to build a legacy of his own. That's all for today's MMA update. Stay locked in for more headlines, fight predictions, and all the chaos building toward UFC 315.